Peace and welcome back to Uncle Baye's The Curriculum, home remedies to stay woke. Now if you're watching this, hopefully you already checked out the lyric video for week 1. This is the lesson video for week 1. And if you find any of this information to be useful, or that it could be helpful for anyone else, or if you have the opinion that this is right on time for you, please hit the like button and subscribe. That way we can keep this going. Now in this class, we want to deal specifically with the concept of consciousness. We hear it all the time. Somebody's conscious, somebody's woke. Now this course won't be of any use to you if we don't have a common definition for this. So allow me to take the time to establish what it means. It's according to the curriculum. To start today's lesson, I would like to explain something to you from the perspective of the Dogon people in West Africa. Now if you're not familiar with the Dogon, they're an ethnic group in Mali, West Africa, known for the preserved ancient traditions and knowledge of astronomy. Most recently, they were aesthetically referenced in Beyonce's visual album, Black is King, and had previously been referenced on Stevie Wonder's slept-on album, Journey Through the Secret Life of Plants. Now, this group of people believe in something called the Bayou Ali. The Bayou Ali is a force in the universe. Now, while there's similarities between my name and this force, there's absolutely no relationship. Or maybe there is. Anyway, the Bayou Ali is a force that I've heard described as such. Imagine being in a room that's completely dark. And this room is packed with people. You can hear maybe rustling around you. And all of a sudden a voice tells you all to begin to run as fast as you can around the room. Well, you might imagine in this situation, you would end up with quite a few injuries. People crashing into each other, perhaps some people doing intentional harm to each other. Maybe even some people would remain completely still to avoid anything happening at all. Now let's add to this situation this one thing. Imagine that everyone has the opportunity to yell while they're running. Now in this arrangement, you may be able to discern the distance someone is from you and perhaps be able to avoid them. You might also be able to discern perhaps whether someone is a male or female, how tall or short they are, how old or young they are. In doing such, there may be the opportunity now to assume some type of precaution while running. People could maybe respect a certain distance. Now in this example, what the Dogon believe is the Bayou Ali is that yelling. It's an energy projected that helps keeps things existing in a balance, within harmony. And the people running symbolizes anything and everything in existence. Anything in the known universe, not just living beings. So this force determines how things stay in harmony so that the universe as we know it can go on. Great, Uncle Baye, so what does this have to do with my consciousness? I'll tell you. So this concept presumes that there's some order and structure within the universe. And this might be observed in the laws of physics, such as gravity, the laws of nature, such as seasons, day and night, birth and death. And it presumes, in fact, that our very life and existence is occurring within some harmony and balance with everything else. That you exist in the universe because it exists, and because I exist, and vice versa. That there's some type of exchange, which brings us to the prompt from the last video. Please make sure you check that out if you haven't. So it may have not been too hard to think about a time that you helped someone. For most of us, it's not too hard to perceive yourself as doing something for someone else. But here's one thing we can all be certain of. In your life, someone has helped you. The mere fact that you're alive today means that someone at some point cared, supported, nurtured you when you were a baby. So we're all the product of help. And we can see over time that everything exists because something else supports it. Your very breathing is supported by the trees, and you in turn support them and the whole ecosystem. And so even when we die, decomposition supports something. They say death is the only guarantee in life, but really there are two. You'll die, but before we die, in order to get into being in the world, somebody or some things have to help you. Now let's take a step back to understand our culture and our role in it. In Western culture, we've learned that things are based on survival. Survival of the fittest, dog eat dog, that there's competition. There are winners and there are losers. However, there's more evidence of cooperation within nature, that we see within all things a certain level of interdependence. Now in the lyric video that you previously watched, I deal with this concept of interdependence. that things on earth are in an agreement to maintain other things on earth. And oftentimes we see this most clearly articulated in moments of crisis. If you might recall, in the video I mentioned the Haitian earthquake of 2010. The demonstration of humanity and human resilience, showing us that oftentimes in tragedy, we recognize our true commonality. And this is further highlighted by our current situation of a pandemic. We realize that what goes on in nature will affect other things in nature. What happens in one place can affect something completely around the globe. Knowing that every decision we make has an effect on things beyond us. Consciousness is an awareness of the interconnectivity of things on the planet, and in particularly, the awareness of how we participate in it. So for the sake of this lesson, in our course, the curriculum works under the understanding that consciousness is when we assume responsibility for the predictable outcomes of our actions. And not just one action, but all of our actions in the world. Choices we make in this moment will affect the circumstances of people yet to come. Choices previously made have affected us. And it serves as a guide that dictates how we make decisions. Consciousness holds the awareness of a balance that we hope to maintain, much like the Bayou Ali. Which brings us to this word woke, which essentially is describing social consciousness. But let's save that for next week's class. If you appreciated this information, hit the like and subscribe. I'm Uncle Baye, onward and upward.